trading is extremely difficult. Investing is extremely easy. But we make trading easy and investing difficult. Trading easy to lose money, investing difficult to make money.
स्टॉक मार्केट रिलेटेड इंटरव्यू वीडियो पाने के लिए मेरे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करें और बेल आइकन को दबा दें।
Nilesh, thank you so much for joining in. Your first expression when you came in here was कि बहुत भीड़ है, and you had trouble getting in as well. Yeah.
Let me just start with a note that whenever you see such kind of enthusiasm, generally that is top of the market. Now, I think investors have matured. They have really become long-term investor. And I hope this enthusiasm is of investment and not of trading. And tomorrow when there is a correction, there will be opportunity to make money.
Do you foresee that there could be a small correction in the markets in the near term?
Yes. There are two fundamental things which market has ignored. One, the threat of rising interest rates. The markets fundamentally is at a level where prices are little ahead of fundamentals and it needs a reason to come down. The second fear which I have, generally the Satta market is giving an indication today that in three of the potential election bound states, Punjab, UP and Gujarat, BJP seems to be on the back foot. Now last time when we saw them losing Bihar election, markets corrected, and when they won Assam election, markets went up. Now UP is bigger than Bihar and Assam put together. So at what point of time market starts factoring in that BJP is actually on the back foot in UP or in Punjab, or does it believe that no, they will be able to turn it around over next 6 months? So these are the two risk factors which will, put a cap on the market. It will act as a catalyst for correction.
બે દિવસ પહેલા સંદીપ ટંડન of Quant was on the channel. When we asked him, okay, what is your view on the markets? So he's like, 2 years he sees Sensex at 44,000. I think a lot of people out here have heard Rakesh Jhunjhunwala say that the index could be 1 lakh at some point of time. You in an investor conference and on air also stated that past Sensex was at the level of Dow, now it is double that of Dow. So my question to you is, what is your gut feeling? What are the levels that the index can go to?
We were about under $300 billion economy in 1991. And our market cap was somewhere around $240 billion. Now, today we are a $2 trillion economy with about $1.6 billion, $1.6 trillion market cap. Now, the finance minister has mentioned that we'll grow double in next 5 years. So this 2 trillion will become 4 trillion. Our expectation is that, yes, that is possible provided we take hard reforms. But in a democracy, it's difficult to carry out those kind of reforms. We are not China, which can do authoritarian things. So let's assume that we'll continue to grow at Indian pace rather than Chinese pace, which means we'll become $4 trillion economy next 10 years. I think we are in a stage where non-Nifty, non-index stocks will deliver far better return. So don't focus on Sensex, Nifty, focus on stocks, focus on trends which are outside of index. You will make far more money.
અહીંયા બેઠેલા લોકો જે છે બધા લોકો પાસે ફૂલ ટાઈમ સ્ટોક માર્કેટમાં ઇન્વેસ્ટ કરવાનો ટાઈમ ડિવોટ કરવાની ઓલી નથી. And I understand that SIP is probably the right way for a lot of them, and we'll talk about that as well. But there are a lot of people out here who want to pick stocks, who may not have all the time in the world, but want to devote some time and want to look at the parameters which they can in their limited means. So when you invest, what are the 3 or 4 things that you're looking at? Let's talk about one thing at a time so that people can understand as well.
What we look as an investor is business, management and valuation. Now, how do you arrive at business? Any business which generates free cash flow is the best business to invest into. It is essentially profits of company after paying interest, after paying taxes, after providing for depreciation, and after adjusting for working capital which is available for shareholders, which it can distribute, which it can declare by way of dividend.
Nilesh, how does an average viewer, I understand the concept, but અહીંયા બેઠેલા લોકો છે એ લોકો કઈ રીતે જોશે? How do they gauge it? Because it's very difficult for all of us out here to try and see.
So many years back, when HDFC Bank was getting listed and moving up, Radhakishan Damani was one of the largest individual owner of that stock, and he almost reached 1% ownership in that stock. And this is I heard from someone. So someone told Radhakishan Damani, why are you buying HDFC Bank shares? There are other bank shares which are available so cheap. There were many PSU banks whose balance sheets were multiple times bigger than HDFC Bank. And then Radhakishan Damani mentioned in one simple word, देख भाई धारावी धारावी होता है और पैडर रोड होता है. So either you make lazy investing your strength by picking up large trends and then staying on it, or you really put time, effort, discipline, money, intelligence in picking up stocks. પણ પહાડ ચડ્યા વગર ગિરનારના દર્શન નહીં થાય. મહેનત તો કરવી જ પડશે.
એક તમારા ઇન્ટરવ્યુમાં મેં સાંભળ્યું હતું કે corporate governance, a company which is governed well is a necessity. So how do people dissect these trends,
Try to look at the past track record of the promoter. Is he going to share his wealth with you or not? If yes, based on past experience, then assume that he will continue to do that.
You mean by way of dividends?
By way of dividends or by way of simple ownership. I mean, Microsoft didn't declare dividend, but he was not taking money home. He was putting that money into business.
Right.
In India, we see so many promoters who have far bigger apartments in New York and London, and their companies are shutting down over here. You don't want to invest with these people. And today you are able to see that there are so many companies which are leveraged, and those promoters are not able to raise capital in India because we as institutional shareholders are not giving money to such poorly governed company. So there is evaluation happening. Corporate governance is very, very critical. You only want to partner that guy who is going to respect your right as a minority shareholder. If he's going to take you for a ride, why invest with him? There are 10,000 other people who are willing to respect your rights as shareholder.
Let's actually ask the audience if they have some questions, and we'll of course continue this discussion. Let the mic come to you. We'll try and give a chance to as many people as possible. Please introduce yourself and then ask your question.
Yeah, my name is Jinay Gala. I would like to ask a question regarding the innovation. Means today the innovation is a big disruptor. If you see example of Patanjali versus FMCG companies, now digital IT versus other. So how do you be quick to understand the innovation, whether the business would sustain for at least 5 to 6 years?
So you have raised a very, very brilliant question. And this is something which is impacting all of us. Kodak was 80% market share, 1,75,000 employee, billions of dollars market cap company. And it wasn't that electric or electronic photography or digital photography was invented in 2000. It was there in existence for almost 20 years, and yet Kodak was defeating that. But then the tide turned, and Kodak is history today. So disruptions are going to come. All we want to see whether these companies have ability to manage the disruption or not. Nokia was a paper manufacturing company. It disrupted telecom sector by launching mobile phones which were fantastic. Unfortunately, it became complacent, and then Samsung and Apple disrupted Nokia. So disruptions will continue to come, undoubtedly. And that's why I said that you can't be, like taking things for a ride. You'll have to keep on investing your time, your effort, your intelligence in analyzing company. I mean, investing is like gardening. You plant a tree. Now you have to nourish it, you have to put manure, you have to water it, you have to cut the weeds. It doesn't mean that every day you uproot the tree and see whether roots are there or not and then put it back. But you have to nourish it over a period of time. The same thing will happen in industry. Disruptions will continue to come. As long as you have invested in companies which can benefit from that disruption, they themselves create disruption, it's perfectly fine. in investments, you have to follow what I call monkey to King Kong strategy. There are very few guys who can straightway invest into King Kong. I mean, he just picks one monkey, puts all his money over there, and then it nourishes to become King Kong. That's like real luck or real skill, which most of us will not possess. We have to have so many monkeys in our portfolio. Some of the monkeys will die, some of the monkeys will become gorilla. You put more money into that gorilla, and one of that gorilla will become King Kong, and that's how you will make enough return. So don't go for one King Kong at straight. Have enough monkeys. Some of them will become gorilla. One of them will become King Kong. You will be good enough.
One disruptor and one area which is getting disrupted to your mind, which also has relevance to stock markets in India. Tamara nazaરમાં શું છે?
Let's think pharma as a sector. We believe pharma may underperform in the short term, but it has a great potential over long term. Why is it that it has great potential over long term? Because all of us are living very healthy life, all of us jog every day, we don't eat pizza, we don't smoke, we don't drink. So we are all living such a healthy life that pharma sector will have a great future going ahead. So one, our lifestyle is getting compromised because of stress of modern life, because of pollution. Second, we are moving from below $1,500 per capita GDP to above $1,500 per capita GDP. My father would have never thought ke hair weaving karaviye. I'm surely going to do at some point of time. My father would have never thought of going to gym. I have no option but to go there. So we are going to spend more money on health, well-being, and wellness and stuff like that. So that's why there is a longer-term future for the pharma sector. The second thing, we have companies which are exporting drugs at a much, much cheaper rate to global markets. The biggest of them is US market. Now, obviously in the short term, US FDA has put certain restrictions on our factories, our pharma companies. Over a period of time, we will sort them out, which is where pharma sector will bottom out. And once we start exporting our drugs to US market and other global markets, their profitability will start improving. So one, the local market gives you confidence. Second, the global market gives you confidence. Now in this, there is only one risk. The world is moving from chemical-based drugs, where we have far more skills, into biosimilars. Now the advantage is that in India, diversity of human genome is very, very high. We have different people ranging from Kashmir to Kanyakumari and Kutch to Kamrup. So that is our strength. But we need to invest in future for biosimilars. Now, how many of Indian companies will be able to transit from being chemical-focused, chemical-based drug entities to biosimilars? So this is a disruption which may come in 2020, 2022, 2019. Who knows where it will come?
Sure.
But people who can ride this will ride on the overall wave of developing domestic market, developing global market, and then the final thing, they'll have cutting edge products for serving that customer.
Okay, we are a gentleman out there. Yes, please.
I have got one important question. As sir has spoken on corporate governance, I think recently in last 1 month, we have seen this issue of corporate governance. I think there is no point in, even taking the name out. One was Mr. Kumar Mangalam Bilra, this amalgamation of Grasim Industries, and one was our Bhisma Pitama, Mr. Mukesh Ambani, announcing the Jio launch, and the last one is recently, very recently, Mr. Rana Kapoor QIP, which was flopped. This is first question, that corporate governance at all these levels, why it was not observed by this industrialist who are so much leader in their respective field. This was first. Second is,
We can only have one question, please.
Last question, sir. While I have seen all the analysts in all the channel, including you, sir, Neeraj sir,
Yes, please.
are always tell people to buy for long term, but no analyst sell for selling the share. Even at 1440, 1400, they were telling to buy the Yes Bank. But Yes Bank was overpriced over that. That's why the QIP got.
Sir, next time I will get you on channel and you say sell. Yeah.
And the last one is very important. Sir, I think
I thought you said
why?
one last question 3 times already, sir.
How long does our Indian market will depend on FII flow, please?
So let's take the third question first. How long we will be dependent upon FII? Let's give you a very small example. You know, last World Cup, all our commentators were talking about that unfortunate incidents in which an Australian player got hit on his head and then he died on the spot. And then they kept on repeating that, like, now the Australian team is working to win the World Cup for that particular gentleman. Now, do you know the name of that person? Absolutely. Now, similar thing happened in Kolkata, where a person who was under 19 captain of India, he got hit on his head, and he didn't die on the spot. He was actually taken to 3 hospitals where he couldn't get proper medical treatment, and then he died. Did you ever hear one Indian commentator talking that Mahendra Singh Dhoni is now going to go for World Cup for that gentleman? ગોરો મર્યો તો એ તો હેડલાઇન બને, કારો મર્યો તો ઠીક છે યાર, એવા તો કેટલા લોકો છે. This is this. So till such time we see Indian commentators talking about Indian team trying to win the World Cup for that kid, I don't think so we can hope that FIIs will not dominate us. The second thing is related to governance issue. Now, governance is subjective. It's not a science. It's an art. Now, Yes Bank's QIP failed. So what? There's no misgovernance over there. They had expectation of raising $1 billion at 1410. They launched the issue. They probably didn't get subscription or response. They withdrew the issue. There's no misgovernance in that. Now, the stock has come down from 1450 to maybe 1300. So what? The stock is up from 1700 to 1300. If a stock goes up 100% and comes down 10%, you can't call it crash. The other question which everyone asks us, that Nilesh, you never tell us when to sell. Now, we always start saying that you should invest via SIP and you should always follow asset allocation. If you don't understand the meaning of asset allocation, you'll never be able to understand when to sell. The third thing is that I'm actually seeing journey of Sensex from 1,000 to 1 lakh. Now, you want to get down from the train at 3,500 so that you can enter at 3,300. You want to get down at 27,000 so that you can enter at 26,800. I mean, sorry, that's not possible. It's impossible to time the market. It's your timing in the market which will make money for you. Trading is extremely difficult. Investing is extremely easy. But we make trading easy and investing difficult. Trading easy to lose money, investing difficult to make money.
I'll first have a question to the gentleman in the second last row, please. Then I'll come to you. Yes, then we'll come to you. Yes.
I understand India is in the early stage of bull run. Similar views has also come from Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, Rhythm Desai. Sure. They are very marquee investors. So I also understand that in the bull run, valuation multiples expand. So I just want to know, when the bull run starts and at the peak of the bull run, what kind of irrational valuation multiple it can reach? And if you can relate it to some of the historical numbers, that would be really helpful.
So it's a beautiful question. People are learning. There are very few guys whose record is stuck in 1930. But most people there change their calendar. Now, there will be new set of fools in the market, but there will be enough smart players in the market which probably will cap this Sensex at the peak of the market maybe in 24, 25, 26 times. They will all learn from 91, 2000, 2008 experience. So where the market will peak will be dependent upon, is the experienced number of investors more in the market, or stupid number of people are more in the market. If there are more fools, we can go and cross Harshad Mehta time. If there are smart people, we won't repeat that mistake. You have all heard about Porsche. It's a great car making company. One day, some hedge fund manager shorted that stock, and the other side of market participants captured him. So there was a short squeeze. At that point of time, Porsche's market cap went up so much that it became the world's most expensive automobile company.
In fact, it figured in top 10 largest market cap company in the world. How long it lasted over there? Till such time the short squeeze was over. You have seen similar thing in a stock like Akruti Nirman in India. Just see the chart. For a while it went up, it came down. So this overvaluation, undervaluations will continue to occur. Market is made up of experienced hands and idiots. If idiots are more, you will see irrationality prevailing. If experienced hands are more, you will see rationality prevailing.
Okay. There's a lady out there. I'll have to give the mic to her, please.
I wanted to ask you regarding picking of stocks, the cash flow and the sector analysis, what you spoke about, and corporate governance. All this comes within the realms of fundamental analysis, the EIC framework. But most of the wealth management companies, they always follow technical analysis. So if I don't want to rely on them, and tomorrow if I want to pick up stocks on my own, what should I do? Should I follow the fundamental analysis or the technical analysis? And this is one thing which is keeping me away from picking up stocks, and I always invest in mutual funds.
I think you should continue doing what you're doing. But Nilesh, maybe you can answer.
So this efficient market theory has now been put it into dustbin. That doesn't work. There are new theories, and which I am sure 10 years down the line will go into dustbin and something more will come. The second thing is, in medicine there are different schools. Ayurvedic, allopathic, homeopathic, naturopathy. Now if you go and ask an allopathy doctor like me, okay, is there a point in taking Ayurvedic medicine? My recommendation will be, no, you should always take allopathic medicine. What is Ayurvedic? Now you go to an Ayurveda acharya and tell him that, sir, allopathic medicine, he'll say, pagal thai gao chhe, side effects ketli chhe. So there are different ways to reach nirvana. There is no one fixed path. I am a fundamentalist, I follow fundamentalist. There are guys who probably can make money through technical analysis. Good luck to them. There are guys who can make money through something else. Good luck to them. But do what is suitable to you.
Okay, I have time for one last question. Very quickly.
Hi, Nilesh. This is Alpa. My question is, I went through your presentation as well, and you mentioned about a company's ability to generate free cash flow, one, and second, its ability to sustain that free cash flow generation. So in that case, how does one evaluate if one wants to invest, say, in a cyclical or a capital-intensive, a company in a cyclical or a capital-intensive sector? Because they are bound to have long gestation periods, so working capital, will get blocked. Or if it is cyclical, the performance is going to fluctuate. So sustainability may not be there. So how do you analyze such companies?
Sure. So it is all about capital allocation. Sri Cement was 1 million ton cement capacity when they raised money from IPO. Today it is 25 million ton, and they haven't come to the capital market. They have created capacities using their own internal accruals. Does it mean that Sri Cement has kept on showing growth in profitability every year? No. Their profits have gone up and down, but they have used that cash so judiciously that from 1 million they have become 25 million. So that ability to use capital very, very judiciously is very, very important. Essentially, 1 rupiya per vadhare vartar kaadi sake, then you can invest in those cyclical businesses. The second thing is to predict cyclical businesses. At $120 oil, I can't predict that oil will go to $200 and hence my cash flow will be this. I have to predict that oil will probably come down to $60, $70, $50. Who knows where the oil will be? But at least if I provide for that, then I know this stock is expensive, I better avoid it. Now when you are at bottom of this cycle, oil was at $30 and people said it will go to $10.
Right.
Now you have to have the guts to take the call that, look, at $10 it may go, but it won't remain here. The future oil might be at 40, 50 and 60. Now again, if I bid that into my model, I arrive at a cash flow and I then say, okay, it is a buy. Now if oil goes to 10, bad luck to you. But in case oil bounces back to 40, 50, you will make a lot of return. So you try to arrive counter-cyclical to cyclicality of the business. So these are some tricks of the trade through which you can, build your portfolio for investment in cyclical businesses.